In today's video, I want to talk about why I believe Mythic Plus is causing serious problems in the World of Warcraft community, and how I feel that this is actually slowly killing the game that we all know and love. First, let's talk about Mythic Plus. For those of you that don't know, Mythic Plus is a type of dungeon content in World of Warcraft that allows players to push themselves against really difficult enemies. A normal dungeon is at the level of 0. A Mythic Plus dungeon, the dungeon difficulty goes like this: normal, heroic, Mythic plus 0. From there, it goes Mythic plus 1, Mythic plus 2, Mythic plus 3, and it goes all the way up and it gets more and more difficult, with the rewards getting better and better. The rewards for this are good gear and bragging rights. It sounds good, right? Well, the problem is Mythic Plus has become the primary focus for many World of Warcraft players. Instead of exploring content in the game, exploring the world of Azeroth, exploring the 18 years of expansions and old content that we've actually got, players are spending hours and hours grinding Mythic Plus content, trying to push themselves as hard as they can to get the highest Mythic Plus score. This has led to absolute huge burnout across the entire population of World of Warcraft. The general toxicity has never ever been this high before in World of Warcraft. If you go into a dungeon and you disconnect for like 2 seconds, you run the risk of them doing a vote kick like that. Back in the day, you disconnect for a minute, they'd be like, oh, well done, you came back. No one would kick you. But now it is so intense. The general toxicity in World of Warcraft has definitely isolated a lot of players from wanting to even play in Mythic Plus content, me included. But that's not the only problem. Mythic Plus has actually created a toxic environment in the World of Warcraft community. With the introduction to Mythic Score in World of Warcraft, players are constantly comparing themselves with one another to make themselves feel better about their own skill level. They're constantly trying to one-up each other with achievements and Mythic Plus score. This has unfortunately led to some serious cases of elitism and exclusion. If a player feels like they've got a high enough score, they won't play with anyone else who's a lower score than them. They want the highest level score possible, or they're not bothering with you. As players don't meet certain requirements, they're basically left out, and they're left to just rot on their own, to play on their own with people who are not that good because they've not got a high enough Mythic score. And unfortunately, when those high level Mythic Plus players do occasionally take a lower score player, they end up making enough mistakes and ruining the time of that key that players just leave the Mythic Plus dungeon and don't want to complete it, because it effectively means that they won't get a score increase. And to them, that score increase is more important than the other 4 players enjoying finishing that dungeon together. The whole point of this video is to highlight how important the Mythic score has become to the player base. This all started when Blizzard introduced Mythic Score as a core part of the game features in World of Warcraft. It incentivized competition within the player base, which has been great, but has also isolated a huge portion of the player base who just wanted to go into Mythic Plus dungeons to complete them. They didn't care so much about the timer. So these players aren't able to enjoy the PvE aspect of dungeons. They can't experience the challenge because every group they join ends up falling apart because one person dies and the timer isn't completed quick enough, so people leave the dungeon and you can't complete it. And a lot of players turn around and they say, well, what's the point in playing if you can't complete it in time? For a lot of players out there, they just want to complete the dungeon on a high level. That's it. They don't care about the timer. They just want to complete it, get the gear, and that's it. And I totally see both sides of the perspective here, the competition and why they would want to leave, everything like that. I understand it, and that's why I've created a solution for this, which I genuinely hope that Blizzard listens to, because I believe I've got the perfect solution here. Now, I have covered this in a previous video called My Fix to Sorting Out Mythic Plus Toxicity. And what my solution is to basically create an alternate version of Mythic Plus. Instead of taking your Mythic Plus key and sticking into the keystone and clicking start, you'd be presented with 2 options. timed and timeless. Now, this would basically mean that if a group was being created and they wanted to select a timed run, then people who would join that would be joining to get it in time. And the people who would be there just to complete the dungeon at that high difficulty level to get the practice or just to get the enjoyment of completing the dungeon, they would be able to select timeless. They wouldn't be fighting against a timer. They would actually just be fighting against the challenge of the high level enemies. This is a perfect way for players to practice against Mythic Plus at a certain level. Now, the beauty of this suggestion is, I believe if they added this into the game, the only way to increase that mythic key is to complete it on a timed run. Meaning that players, once they practiced against a higher level opponent, they can take that key and do that same dungeon again, but on a timed version. This will mean that they actually have a better idea of exactly what they need to do in order to time that key, and they won't ruin other people's dungeon keys. This will create less toxicity in the game, and it will create a brand new game mode as well, which would effectively be the challenge mode of Mythic Plus. Imagine this. Imagine you get a group of players who are just hardcore, sweaty, awesome Mythic Plus players, and they want to complete the highest Mythic Plus key that they can possibly do. Maybe they want to take it all the way up to like Mythic Plus 50. Maybe they want to do that. It creates a new sort of gameplay mode where the challenge isn't to complete it in time, it's the challenge is just completing it. Can your group do it? I do believe the timeless option should definitely provide gear and should provide options in the vault as a result of completing it. However, I don't believe you should be able to increase your key level without timing that key. That should be the added benefit of completing that key in time. It keeps the level of competition in the game and means that we don't just get rid of the timed version of Mythic Plus, since that's a great addition to the game. With this change, I would also change the way that looking for group works. Instead of having you have to hover over the looking for group to select whether it's going to be a completion run or a timed run, that should actually be shown next to the title, or timed or timeless. That should be shown right next to the title so it's really clear, because a lot of people sign up for dungeons and they don't hover over it to check if it's a timed or completion run. Now, with that change of it being said, this is a timed or a timeless run, people would actually look at what they're signing up to, which would definitely increase the amount of successful groups that are being formed quickly. Many players call for people who leave dungeons to be punished in some way, shape or form, but I personally think this is the wrong approach. I think my solution is much better at fixing the overarching problem of Mythic Plus toxicity. Let's not forget the overarching impact that Mythic Plus has had just on the game on a whole. Instead of experiencing the story of the World of Warcraft, Azeroth, players are stuck in dungeons just fighting the same boss over and over again, and it is so disheartening when you don't time a key for a simple mistake. I mean, it is so upsetting when you're having to run that same dungeon 57 times just to get one trinket in the game. Now, I'm not salty that I got the Rage Feather on my 57th knock-on run or anything. No, don't at me. With Mythic Plus taking a huge downturn, it's making more and more players feel like World of Warcraft no longer offers engaging gameplay to keep them interested in playing. The question is, can Blizzard act to fix this problem before it's too late? Or are we aboard the Titanic with icy cold water rushing about our feet as we listen to the sweet lullaby of violins playing in the background? Is this a cold ending to an MMO that we all know and love? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. So there you have it. While Mythic Plus may seem like a fun and challenging way to play World of Warcraft, it's actually causing serious problems right now. If you're feeling a bit burnt out from World of Warcraft on a whole, maybe try taking a step away from Mythic Plus and engaging in other parts of the game. There's 18 years of development in this wonderful game. There's mount collecting, gold farming, pet collecting, raiding, PvP, whatever it is you want to do. There's so much to do in World of Warcraft, not just Mythic Plus. I personally quit Mythic Plus, and I've said to my friends and family, I won't do Mythic Plus with any pugs whatsoever. I will only ever do them with friends or family groups, and that's it. This is because I don't want my time to be wasted. I put a high value on my own time, and I don't like to waste time interacting with a broken system in-game. I've personally gone down the route of playing lots of PvP and engaging in epic battlegrounds, and the reason for this is I'm trying to create the most overpowered broken builds possible for getting the huge amounts of honor in game. I really hope that this video offered some useful insights, and if you found it good, then hit that like button, click subscribe so you can see more content just like this in the future. Really hope you see this, Blizzard. I really hope you consider making my changes. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. This is Erosium, out.